Welcome, friends, to Farm Fresh Designs 59. Well, friends, today, Decoupage Central is dropping some new papers for their spring release, and I can't wait to show them to you. So let's get started. This first paper is from AB Studios. It's a beautiful bunny that has this blue background that actually has some little snowflakes around it. So this is something that you could go ahead and put out. So I only used a water pen to tear off that bottom edge. And if you've not used decoupage paper, you can either use a water pen or just a paintbrush dipped in water, and then that makes that paper really easy to tear. Now this is a piece of wood that my husband actually cut me that was rounded off. I painted it with Rust-Oleum linen white chalk paint, and once it dried, I put down this paper with Mod Podge or whatever decoupage medium that you like to use. And I start up at the top and then I just work my way down. And then once it dries, I use my little finger sander to go around all of the edges so that that excess paper will come off. Once I get all that extra paper off, now I need to work on the bottom. So I'm going to be using my IOD molds, trimmings 1 and 2. And I put cornstarch in my molds, and I use air dry clay. So if you've not used air dry clay, it's super easy. You push it down into that mold, and because this is a longer strip of a mold, because I don't want it to pull up as I'm pushing down on it, I try to keep one hand steady on it, and then I'm going to push that mold or that clay into that mold, and then I'll use an old gift card or credit card and I'll smooth back the edge. And then that makes it easier to lay flat onto the surface. And once I finish, then I'm just going to turn it over and let gravity take its course and just allow it to just kind of roll out. And I'm going to put it down with Tight Bond Thick and Quick, which is in a blue and gray bottle that you can find at Walmart or Amazon. And I just use a glue stick to spread it out. And then that first piece, I put right up underneath that rabbit. And once I put it on, I just like to gently tap on those edges just to make sure it's down all of the way. And then I go and I use 2 more pieces of trim. And the first one is a little rope looking image, and then the other one has flowers on it. So once it's set up for about 10 to 15 minutes, then I go back and I paint it very gently with a soft bristle brush, and that helps to keep it from cracking later on. Once that paint is all dry, I actually wait until overnight because I'm going to be using wax on it. So first I put down my clear wax to sort of prime it. And then after that sets up for about maybe 30 minutes, I go back with Dixie Belle Grunge Gray Wax and I spread that on top. And then I use a shop towel to kind of wipe back the edges or the excess. And that helps that wax to go into those crevices. And then I use that same wax just around the edge to kind of tie it all together. And here's the finished product. What do you think? I just think this rabbit is just lovely. And I love that that wax down at the bottom really highlights those trimmings molds. So actually, because this is a spring release, but it has these wonderful blues and these little snowflakes in it, this is a perfect piece to transition as we go from winter into spring. So let's move on to the next project. My next pieces of decoupage paper are more faith-based decoupage paper that will put us into the Easter holiday. Now this first paper, oh my goodness, I just love it. And is Jesus walking out of the water with the sun behind him. And I just think it's beautiful. So I've just got a white piece of wood. That's just all of this is just scrap wood, and I'll leave a little bit up at the top after I decoupage that paper on. And this is the stamp from the Christmas release called Classical Christmas, but it's got not only the cherubs in it, but it has these beautiful little swirly pieces, and I've used it a lot so far because it's really versatile. So I just put those pieces on a thin mount, and I stamp it with stone gray ink, and I just stamp it up at that little edge up at the top and then down at the bottom. And then right below that decoupage paper, this is some scripture that says, "When you go through deep waters, I will be with you." And then I glued that little piece of wood up underneath. And I just think it's a perfect scripture to go along with the decoupage paper. And I cut out those words with my Cricut. Now, this is one of the frames mold, and it's from the Frames 2 mold. And I painted it black, and then this piece of decoupage paper actually comes with a sheet of 4 different crosses and different spring flowers. So I used that decoupage paper in the center, and I put gold gilding wax all onto that frame. And then I put it just inside of a little shadow box that I had painted black, that you'll see in just a minute that I put gold around the edges. Now, one of the other little pieces of decoupage paper on that quad piece of paper, I used that on one of the Decoupage's molds, and I used the clear resin. And so I'm going to put this decoupage paper on the back as reverse decoupage. And you can use Mod Podge or whatever medium you've got. Don't use very much. It needs to be sort of thin. And watch. Look at this. It goes from cloudy to clear very quickly. And I use Judican's Diamond Glaze. And it's a product that I get off of Amazon. And I'll share that with you in the links below. And look at how beautiful it comes out. It makes that clear resin almost look like glass. So down at the bottom on the trim of this cloche, I use black paint. I believe this is actually Fusion paint, or you can use Waverly chalk paint in the color ink. And I use that up at the top. And once that dries, I put gold gilding wax on it. And then when that's all finished, I like to go back and paint the back of that decoupage paper white, and that just helps it to kind of stand out more. And then that little cloche, I actually just had a little stretch canvas that I bought at the Dollar Tree that was a 4x6, I believe, and I just glued it onto that and put some gold around the edges of it. So here are my 3 faith-based Easter or spring projects. So which one of these is your favorite? I love the one with Jesus walking out of the water. And I truly believe that when we are in those deep waters and we feel really overwhelmed, Jesus is that answer for us. And we can lean on to Him for support. So what do you think? I just love all of these pieces. And these would make great gifts for your pastor or for your Sunday school teacher. And even though the larger one is, like a little sign, you could put some hangers on the back and hang it, or it could be a shelf sitter. So my last project is just a silver tray, and it wasn't real silver, and I thrifted it and I painted it white. And look at this sunflower paper. It's so, so pretty. And so I just worked my way around on that one, and I used Mod Podge to put it down. And on this one, I use cellophane wrap, and that presses it in because I want to make sure that I only cut that little edge on that little plate. I need it to make sure that I cut exactly where it's round, and I wait until it's dry to go ahead and cut it. Now I'm going back and I'm going to be using a primitive mold, and there's a little trimmings on this one. So I use that all around the edge just to kind of cover up those edges of the decoupage paper. And then there are some different flowers on this particular mold, and one of them is a sunflower. So I'm going to put 3 sunflowers on this tray. And then there's 3 more little flowers that I'm going to use. And I'm just going to go around this tray in 3 different spots and use my air dry clay to just add some detail to the rim of this tray. Now, actually, the reason that I'm going to be putting the clay molds around the edge is that those little trim pieces from the primitive mold, when you connect them, and there's 3 different pieces, sometimes they will leave a little gap in it because the air dry clay will shrink when it begins to dry. And so these little molds kind of cover those edges. So I paint all of those with Rust-Oleum Chiffon Cream. And then once that's all dry, I use Dixie Belle Voodoo Gel Stain in the color Natural. And I just put it on, and then I wipe it back with the baby wipe just to kind of let that sink into the details. And this is the IOD Vintage Textures stamp. That's the little crackle, and I put that all around the edge, and I actually glue it onto stamp it onto the decoupage paper, and it just adds an extra touch of detail to it. So what do you think? And I just love this. And I actually have a friend in Texas, and she watches my videos, and she loves sunflowers. And I believe she actually even has a room that just is all sunflowers. So when I was making this project, I was certainly thinking of her. So friends, we are at the end of the video today. I hope that I've inspired you and got you excited about starting to work on some spring projects. So in the comments below, let me know which one is your favorite. And also, in the description box below, I will share the links to these decoupage papers and the IOD products that I used. And also, Decoupage Central carries not only Decoupage Central decoupage papers, but they also carry some other name brands. And so, make sure that you check those out as well. And friends, this will be my last video for 2024. So make sure you come back right when January starts, because I'll be ready with some new projects that I'm excited about. But I believe I'm going to take about a week off. I haven't taken any time off in the last year and a half, and so I think I need a little break. And so just be watching for what I've got coming out right after the new year starts. So friends, if you enjoyed the video today, make sure to hit the like button and subscribe to my channel and become part of our family. And I will see you in 2025. And I hope you have a wonderful day. Thank you, friends.